good, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get going here. My name is Mark Vaughn. I am the IDOT Supportive Services Consultant for districts 7, 8, 9. So I'm way down in the south. If you're up in the north, that's one of the nice things about technology. I wouldn't used to have been able to do presentations like this for anybody up north, but now I can quite conveniently. And today we're going to talk about QuickBooks. Now this is a 3-part presentation on QuickBooks. We'll just get started today, and then we'll go deeper at the end of November, and then there's another one in December. Obviously, you can attend as many as you wish. Whatever you want to do, whatever works best there is up to you. We're down to go from 10 to 12 today. I don't know that we'll go till 12, but I'll try to keep things moving as we get started here, trying to figure out how to use QuickBooks. QuickBooks is a great tool. It's a great software, can really help you with your accounting and bookkeeping. The presentation I'm going to do today is on QuickBooks Desktop. As you see here, it's a QuickBooks Premier 2020. There are other versions of QuickBooks. Obviously, QuickBooks has 2023 out. There's also an online version. We're not covering online. QuickBooks doesn't like it when I say this, but the QuickBooks Online platform is not as user-friendly as the QuickBooks Desktop. There are definitely some advantages to it, but we're going to cover the desktop version. One of the things, or some of the things that IDOT Supportive Services can provide, you see listed there. We can help you now. Now it says we can help you with bonding and financing. Obviously, we don't provide the bonding and financing, but we can help connect you with bonding companies and financing companies. We can help you put together packages for them if they need specific financial statements. We can help with financial planning, just kind of understanding your numbers. What do they mean? Are they positive numbers? Are they negative? Help with credit restoration, understanding different steps on how to restore your credit. Help with accounting systems, which is what we're doing today, basically, and then putting together business plans. One of the nice things with this is all provided to IDOT certified firms free of charge. The presentation that I'm doing today and all of the IDOT webinars are available to anyone, but the supportive services are only available to those that are actually certified by IDOT. So if you're certified by Metra or PACE or some of the other organizations, our services aren't available to those, but if you're certified by IDOT, they are available. FE Consulting is a sister company to Franklin & Vaughan LLC. Franklin & Vaughan is a full-scale CPA firm. We provide all your basic payroll, bookkeeping, income tax, business valuation, audit services, pretty much anything you might think that a CPA firm would do, we do that. We have offices in Edwardsville and Alton. Our primary office is in Edwardsville. Then we also have another office in South County, St. Louis, Missouri. I've worked with the supportive services since 2008. There's a couple of years in there where someone else was doing it and I was not, but pretty much I've been involved with supportive services for about 14 years now. So I've kind of hit a lot of the questions that people have, and hopefully I can answer any questions that you might have as we go through. There's a little bit about my background. I've been in public accounting for 30 years now. It's hard to believe that this has gone by that quickly, but even though I feel like I'm only about 35 years old, I've actually been in public accounting for quite a while. I've worked with a lot of startup companies. I've worked with existing companies, primarily your smaller companies. I've never worked on a publicly traded company, never been involved with those, but I've helped a lot of small businesses understand how to grow, understand what financial statements mean. QuickBooks can present great financial statements, but what good is that if you don't know what they mean? So after we get QuickBooks up and going, you may want to talk to either me or the supportive services consultant in your area about what do these numbers mean. Great looking financial statements, but what do they mean? How do they help me manage and grow my business? Obviously, our objective is to help you understand QuickBooks. Today, getting it set up, getting it started. Hopefully you have a copy of QuickBooks already. Again, I'm going to talk through QuickBooks Premier 2020, but this it's not much different if you've got 21 or 22 or even 23. If you have a different version, the setup process is not going to be much different. It's pretty much the same all the way through. So just because this version that we're talking about is 2020 doesn't mean that you won't be able to utilize it on your version if you have something different. In addition to the supportive services that I mentioned, IDOT does have a reimbursement program. And you can talk to your consultant on what more about that. But one of the things that it does provide, it will provide a reimbursement for QuickBooks as long as you have the payroll module. So if you just buy QuickBooks but aren't utilizing payroll, then the reimbursement isn't available. But if you're using QuickBooks and you have the payroll module, then they'll reimburse 50% of the cost up to $300. So that's something to keep in mind. They also reimburse for memberships and trade organizations or associations. They'll reimburse for training or certification classes, website and logos, audited financial statements. They'll reimburse up to $500. That's not going to reimburse much, but if you do have to have an audited financial statement, that's $500 that will help. And then estimating software also. So there's a lot of good options there. Again, talk to the supportive services consultant. At the end of this presentation, I'll have the management supportive services consultant contact information for each of the IDOT districts, so you can jot that down. If you're in 7, 8, 9, it's me. You should have that information hopefully already. If you're in 1 through 6, then I'll have the related consultants. So we have management supportive services. We also have technical supportive services. ESI Consulting covers the whole state, and then they have other subcontractors that help them throughout the state. So if you need help with bidding and estimating, understanding quantities, figuring out how to bid on things, they can help you with that. ESI has a long track record working with IDOT and supportive services and bidding and estimating and engineering. So they're a great resource on the technical side of things. We're here on the management side of things. Today, we're going to look at some key terms and definitions. We're going to look at the chart of accounts. The chart of accounts, in my opinion, is kind of the backbone. We need a good structure, a good setup on the chart of accounts. But most importantly, we need a chart of accounts that's going to work for you. So your chart of accounts may be different from mine. It may be different from somebody else's. So we want to have a good structure there, make sure that it's workable for you. We'll show you how to create a company. We'll show you how to set preferences. And then we'll kind of talk through briefly the home screen and what it can do for you and how you can launch a lot of different things from there. Most of these things can be changed. If you get into it and you find out, hey, I need to add or subtract or kind of change the titles on my chart of accounts, that can be done. I don't like this preference. I want a different preference. That can be changed. So don't worry about if something gets set up and you later decide, oh, I don't like it that way. That's fine. That's one of the nice things. QuickBooks is pretty flexible and lets you make changes to that as you go along and learn more. So some of the key terms and definitions, these aren't necessarily related to QuickBooks, but these are terms to understand and to really be able to utilize the financial aspect of QuickBooks. These are terms that you need to know. I'd encourage you to make sure that if you don't, that you sit down and with somebody and we can talk through in more detail. But the two main things are your balance sheet and your income statement. The balance sheet shows you all your assets, all the things that you have: cash, accounts receivable, equipment, prepaid items, all the assets that you have. It shows the liabilities. Of course, let me state the obvious. It only shows you this stuff if you put it in. If you put it in incorrectly, then it's not going to be beneficial either. My suggestion would be, we get done today, we're going to talk about getting it set up. Again, hopefully you have a copy of the software. You can set it up, and then over the next couple of weeks before our next workshop on the 29th of November, play around with it, get to know it, understand it. I'll mention later on, you'll see on the slides, you can have multiple companies under your current QuickBooks license. That's an advantage of desktop over online. So I would always recommend set up a QuickBooks file and then make a copy of that QuickBooks file to play around in. Because if you're playing around, you don't want to risk ruining or messing up your live data. But if you have a fake company. I call it a dummy company. You go in, you can play around with it, and you don't care what happens if something doesn't work out the way you thought it would. That doesn't matter because you're not in your live data. If it does work out, then you can go back into your live data and do things. So you want to be sure you're getting the data put in correctly in order for it to generate the reports. But liabilities are the things that you owe. Your accounts payable, the bill for utilities, the bill for a membership, your long-term liabilities, your debt. If you borrowed money or have a capital lease, that's your liabilities. And then the capital is basically the difference between your assets and liabilities. That's your equity, that's your capital. That all shows up on the balance sheet. The balance sheet is at any one point in time. It'll continue on from day one. I'm going to get a QuickBooks for Mac. How do I get back to that question? I just lost the question. QuickBooks does have an option for Mac. Let me see if I can. I know. So we are Franklin Vaughn. We are QuickBooks Pro advisors, and we have our download has the option for Mac. So I do know it's out there somewhere. But I'm not positive. I would think you could just go even to Office Depot, possibly Office Max, and get it. There might be a download version, but I'd have to look. At the end of this presentation will be my contact information. So if the one that asked that question, if you shoot me an email, I'll find out and get back to you on that. And don't worry about interrupting. Feel free. This presentation is to help you. All right. Nobody wants to just sit and listen to me drone on for 2 hours about this stuff. It's intended to help you. So if you have questions, please throw them out. Let me know so that I can try to answer questions as we go along. But the balance sheet is at any one point in time. It will be historical. It will keep track of balances from day one. So you get your cash account, you put in your cash account, and it will show you, here's where it was at day one. Here's where it was at day 5, day 50, day 500. It will show you that at any one point in time. The income statement then is over a period of time. How much income and expense do I have? That's where your revenue shows up. That's where your expenses show up. Your income statement is over a period of time. I want to look at the month of January. I want to look at the first quarter. I want to look at the whole year. You set that income statement over a period of time. And then at the end of the year, your net income or loss carries over to the balance sheet to make everything balance. There's a couple different methods of accounting. There's an accrual method and a cash method. The accrual method is your best method as far as keeping track of what's actually going on, because it shows when did you earn the money. Now, that doesn't mean you got paid today. If you finish a contract today, you may not get paid for 60, 90 days, but you still earned that money. You still generated that revenue. The accrual basis picks that up and says, we've got this money out there that is owed to us. We've earned the revenue. We've done the work. On the same side, on the other side, it shows the expenses. I've incurred the expense. I've bought the materials. Even though I'm not going to pay for them for the 30 days, I owe somebody that money. Now, the cash method, it's just what it says it is. I've collected the cash. I've paid out the cash. That only recognizes a transaction when there's a cash component to it. So until you receive the cash, you don't pick up the revenue. Until you pay the bill, you don't pick up the expense. So it's a perfectly fine method of accounting. It just doesn't give you as full of a picture as the accrual method can, but it's also a lot easier to keep track of things on the cash basis of accounting. The chart of accounts, again, that's your backbone. That's where it shows your cash, your receivables, your payables, your revenue, your expenses. I've seen some people that really go crazy with this, and they have a super long chart of accounts. They'll even break out all their office supplies in the chart of accounts. Your chart of accounts might have something called office supplies, and I've seen it where they've broken out office water, paper, pens. Okay, that's a lot more detail than what you really need on that chart of accounts. So you want to keep it concise, but you want to be sure that it's giving you the information that you need. You see here assets. I've already kind of covered what assets are. You have current and long-term. Current assets are things that are probably going to be converted to cash within the next year, whether that's in collecting receivables or inventory that you sell. Fixed assets have a longer period. It's a building, it's a piece of equipment, it's something that would be harder to convert to cash. It's something that has a longer life expectancy than just the 1 year. Those long-term assets, your buildings, your equipment, your vehicles, those you don't deduct all in year one either. You depreciate those. So those may last 5, 10, a building maybe 20 or 30 years. So you're going to write those off over a period of time, and that's through the process called depreciation. Then inventory, maybe you sell rock. So you buy a rock in bulk, you've got it sitting on your lot. That's your inventory. And then as you sell it, that inventory goes down and it gets moved out to the jobs as you utilize it on the different jobs. Accounts receivable is money that is owed to you, and accounts payable are money that you owe to others. Liabilities are long-term and current as well, just like the current and long-term receivables and assets. If I expect to pay this within a year, I expect to pay my electric bill, I expect to pay for the materials that I bought, I expect to pay for the repair that I just had done on my equipment, I expect to pay that within a 30 to 45 day. Those are current liabilities, those are short-term things. Long-term is your long-term debt. I borrowed $100,000 from a finance company to buy a new track hoe. Well, I'm not going to pay that all off today. I'm going to pay that off over 5-7 years. Those are long-term liabilities, long-term debt. The equity, again, is the difference between the assets and the liability. That's your book value. Don't confuse your book value, the difference between your assets and liabilities, with the fair value of the business. Fair value is a different terminology. You may depreciate a piece of equipment over 5-7 years, but it may still have value. Well, on the books, it shows a zero number, but it still has some value to it. So the book value of your business does not equate to the fair value of your business. If you want to know the fair value, that's a different calculation to figure that out. Income, of course, is money that you've earned from sales, from the contracts that you performed. Cost of goods sold are items that are specifically related to the generation of that income. The direct labor, the union benefits, the materials that you buy, those are cost of goods sold. That directly relates to the contract and the production of the income. Other expenses, office supplies, repairs, utilities, those are overhead. You've got to have those. You've got to have the office supplies. You've got to have the management salaries, but they're not directly involved in the generation of the income. They're not directly involved in the contract. So those are overhead items and other expenses. Of course, a customer is a person that buys from you, and a vendor is a person from whom you buy. Employees, we all know what employees are. They're the ones that go out and do the work. A lot of times those wages will be under cost of goods sold. Now, you may have an office manager. That wouldn't be a cost of goods sold. That would be another expense. That would be your administrative and overhead. So let's get into QuickBooks. Let's see how things go. So the first thing, when you get into QuickBooks, you're going to have the option to set up the company, and you're going to want to set it up as the administrator. So you see here in the middle, for myself, I'm the administrator, and then you're going to go with this detail start, because we want to go through each step. Now, if you had one, then you could collect the create, which is in the middle there, and that would show you the ability to map off of another company that already maybe has some of the profile that you want. But normally you're going to want to start with this detailed start, starting from scratch, from square one, to get things going. The first screen then is going to produce an interview process. QuickBooks does an incredible job trying to make things simple for you. And so they give you this interview process to get through setting up the QuickBooks file. What's the company name? What's the legal name? Maybe the same. If it's the same, you don't necessarily have to fill in both boxes. If it's different, if you're doing business as a different name, then you want to put in the legal name as well as the company name. Your tax ID, if you don't have a tax ID and are just operating under your social security number, you'd put that in there. So when you generate reports that need the tax identification number, that'll properly fill in. Your address, the street, the city, the state, the zip, phone number, fax number, email, all this stuff goes into help setting up your company, so that when you generate reports later, it's all in there and ready to populate on the reports as needed. The next screen is an important screen, picking your industry. You see here that we've highlighted construction, general contractor. Most likely that's what you're going to be setting up. But if you happen to be a different type of company, there's a whole list of them here. Right here, hopefully you can see my mouse right here. You see you've got a pull down arrow. There's a whole lot of other options. Maybe you're an engineering firm. You see 2 down from what we have highlighted as a design, architecture, or engineering. The reason this matters is, and I've got it noted in a later slide also, QuickBooks will give you an anticipated chart of accounts based on the industry you select. So if you select accounting or bookkeeping, you're not going to see some of the things on the chart of accounts that you might expect for a contractor. So that's why you want to be sure you select the right one here based on what industry you're in. So the QuickBooks recommended chart of accounts is the one that's most tailored for you. You do not have to use the QuickBooks recommended chart of accounts, but they kind of know based on your industry what to recommend, what common accounts you would have, and so it kind of helps to streamline your process. How is your company organized? This is another important step. If you don't know, talk to your tax preparer or your lawyer to help you figure out, are you a sole proprietor, a partnership, an LLC? How are you taxed? So that you end up utilizing, again, the right forms and processes as you go through the setup process. When is your fiscal year? My guess is most of you are going to be calendar years. You default, when you set up your company, you default to a calendar year. So unless you elected a different year, which I don't see very many of those, I've got a few clients that have a non-calendar year. The calendar year is the most typical and would probably default to that. So again, they want the first month of your fiscal year. If you have a calendar year, then of course your first month is January. I do have a client who has a September 30 year end, so their first month would be October. So you just have to think back based on when your fiscal year is. Set up your administrative password. Now, QuickBooks requires a password if you have the payroll function. If you accept credit cards, they require the password. Obviously, you want to make sure that it's a password, excuse me, a password that you will remember. I'm not an IT company. I don't play one on TV either, but do not pick password 1 as your password. Make it something that will be unique to you, something that you'll remember. Jot it down if you have a hard time remembering, because if you don't have your password, you can't get into your file, and then all your data is unable to be contacted. I do believe QuickBooks has a way to unlock that. You just don't want to have to deal with that. You want to make sure that you set up a password that you'll remember, that you'll be able to type in. And of course, it is case sensitive. So if you have a first letter that's capitalized, then you want to be sure that you remember, oh, hey, I capitalized the first letter in my password. Now you're ready to move on to creating your company file. Well, where are you going to save it? You can save it wherever you want. You can save it on your desktop. You can set up a folder under your documents for QuickBooks file. You can save your company file wherever you want, but again, remember where you're saving it. If you forget where you save it, then you're going to have to dig and try to find where you saved it. So just save it someplace that's convenient. You can see from the format here, this one was set up initially on the desktop here. So wherever you want to set up the QuickBooks file, you can set it up whatever's convenient for you. They let you customize your business. Again, we've already picked what industry you're going to be in. Now we have some additional customization steps that we can take to help make sure that this file is tailored for you. You may tailor it differently. I guarantee you would tailor it differently than I would. I would tailor it differently from whoever else is on this presentation. So everybody's going to set their QuickBooks file up a little differently. You want to make sure that it's tailored for you. What do you sell? Maybe you provide both services and products. The difference here would be if you don't sell products, then you're not going to have to worry about sales tax. If you sell only services, then you want to pick services. If you do both, you'll pick both. Products, the main difference there is the tracking for sales tax. You want to be sure if you do sell products and you are collecting sales tax to be remitted, then you're going to want to be sure that you pick either products or both services and products so you can properly track your sales tax. Keep in mind in the state of Illinois, which if you're already been in business, you probably understand all this. In the state of Illinois, at least, there are, well, I guess most states, there's a potential for like 5 million different sales tax rates. So make sure you know where your sales tax rate is, because just the normal state rate may or may not apply to you. I know here in the Alton Edwardsville area, there are a lot of different municipality taxes that have to be considered as well. So you don't want to be collecting at a rate that is lower than what you're going to end up paying on the backside. The Department of Revenue does have a sales tax rate locator. So you may want to take a minute and go find out where is my sales tax rate. If you have multiple locations, you may have multiple sales taxes. One of my clients, auto repair, they have 2 locations in 2 different municipalities with 2 different sales tax rates. So we have to keep track of their sales tax by the location so that when we remit their sales tax return for them, the correct sales tax rate is utilized for that. If you just have one location, then you just need to find the one and keep track of it that way. And that walks right into the next screen. Do you charge sales tax? Yes or no. If you don't charge sales tax, then you don't need to worry about anything I've just said. If you do charge sales tax, then you need to consider all of that. Do you want to create estimates in QuickBooks? As a contractor, you may very well want to create your estimates. When you've created the estimate, if you then get that job, you can then turn that into a contract later. But you may not want to do your estimates in QuickBooks. You may want to do your estimates somewhere in an Excel file or some other estimating software that you have. Just go with whichever you prefer here, whatever works best for your business, whether you do or don't use estimates. You want to keep track of customer orders. Now your order, now again, this is a customer. A customer is somebody that's buying from you. A vendor is somebody from whom you buy. So if you want to keep track of customer orders, select yes. If you don't want to keep track of customer orders, select no. And we'll get more into that in some of the later workshops as far as what all those things mean. Will you be utilizing statements in QuickBooks? I would recommend and encourage using statements. Sometimes people forget that they owe you money. Sometimes maybe the invoice didn't get to the correct person. So utilize those statements once a month, send them out. I was the treasurer for my church for 20 some years, and I would usually try to pay off statements because we had different people for our church who could go out and buy things. Well, if they didn't get me the invoice, I didn't know that we owed that customer, that vendor, the money. So I would try to utilize statements when they send them to me. Unfortunately, one of our vendors did not send us statements. And there was a time I got a phone call from, again, unfortunately, it was my cousin. My cousin was at the store trying to buy something, and he was told, you're not allowed to buy anything here because you haven't paid your bill. My response was, well, what bill? I didn't know we owed them anything. Somebody had purchased something from them over a year previously. I'd never gotten the invoice, so I hadn't paid it, and they hadn't sent statements to let me know, hey, you owe us money. So statements can be a great reminder. Hey, you owe me some money. Obviously, you want to make money. You're not in this because you love doing what you do for free. You're in it because you love getting paid for it. So send those statements out. Just remind people, hey, you owe me some money. So I would select yes. If you don't want to do statements, then you can select no. Progress invoicing allows you to send out partial progress bills so that as you go along, we've completed 10% of the project. You pay me 10% of the bill. You probably also have a standard pay app that you utilize as well. But progress invoicing allows you to bill the customer as you go rather than waiting till the end. Managing the bills that you owe. This helps you to know what vendors. We'll show this more in a later presentation, but you can put the bills in so that you know I owe this vendor this much, I owe that vendor, and then it helps you, again, that's under the accrual base, so that helps you to keep track of who you owe, how much you owe them, what your bill timeline is. This one's 30 days, this one's 60 days. It helps with that. So you're going to want to, I would suggest keeping track of the bills. Business that my family is involved with, we keep track of all that. And this is not to downplay my daughter. My daughter's 15. She keeps track of all that for me. She puts all of our bills in. She sets up the vendors. But it's very simple to do, and it helps us at any time to see who do we owe, how much do we owe them, so that we can stay current with the payment of the money that we owe to people. You keep track of inventory. This is something that quite possibly will not apply to you. If you strictly buy the product, take it straight to the job and put it into the job, then you don't really need to keep track of inventory. But if you stockpile rock, if you stockpile pipe or other similar products, then you'll probably keep track of that inventory. I know I have a construction client who does. They do keep track of inventory because they stockpile the things and then they sell them on their jobs to the job. So that's up to what you want to do. But if you're going to keep track of inventory, you'll select yes here. We're just walking through this interview. As the screens apply, you'll select yes. As they don't apply, you'll select no. And then you'll hit next to continue on. Keeping track of your time in QuickBooks. QuickBooks does a great job to utilize timesheets. Now, there are a couple of one-off modules, T-Sheets and Google Sheets that will work to import into QuickBooks timesheets. So if you have one of those others, you might be able to import your time directly into QuickBooks. But you go in, you put in your time. That gives you the ability to bill the customer directly. I need this time applied to that job. You want to know, did this job make money or did it lose money? Well, if you're not applying your time to the job, that's a pretty big component of the work. Therefore, you want to be sure that you're keeping track of time by the jobs so that you can correctly see, wow, did I underbid? Did I overbid? I had a couple years where I was the chief operating officer for an engineering firm, and this was part of what I did. Was when we'd wrap up a surveying or engineering project, I would go in, I'd make sure that the expenses were properly applied to the jobs, so we could then review back and see, did we make money? Did we lose money? If we lost money, why? What went wrong? Was the bid off to begin with? Did something go wrong on there? Are we missing some change orders that we need to put in because of something that the customer wanted different than what we originally bid? So very simple. We'll look at it on some later workshops. Very simple time tracking. It's up to you. If you're the only person and you're not taking a paycheck, that may not matter to you. But if you want to keep track of your time, making sure it's getting applied to the correct jobs, you want to select yes here because this is the best way to do it. Do you have employees? If you don't, if it's just you and you don't take a paycheck, select no. It makes it very simple. If you do, you select yes, and then you'll have the option to set up the payroll later. The payroll module is an additional cost. I have not looked at it recently. Last I knew it was like $400 a year. A nice little thing with QuickBooks Desktop, if you do not have payroll, if you're not running payroll through QuickBooks, you don't have to update your QuickBooks. That's one of the reasons QuickBooks does not like the desktop version, because you don't have to update it. If you are using the payroll module, QuickBooks will not support payroll on a version that's more than 2 years old. So in May of every year, they let you know, hey, your time is up. In May of 23, they will only support the 21, 22, and 23 versions. The 21 will need to roll off and upgrade in May of 23, so they will be supporting the 22 and 23 versions. Obviously, that's an additional cost. The QuickBooks, you can, like I said, you can update that every other year. The payroll has to be updated every year for that. So just some things to keep in mind if you do payroll through QuickBooks. If you outsource payroll to a Paychex or an ADP or a local accounting firm, then you don't have to worry about any of the upgrades on QuickBooks. You can just continue to utilize whatever. I have one client, they don't do payroll in their QuickBooks file. They're still utilizing QuickBooks 2010. It works for them. It does what they need. So they're able to utilize an older version without having to update it every year, every 2 years. So now we want to get into the chart of accounts. Let's look at this thing. I've mentioned it. I've referred to it as the backbone. So now we're going to set up the chart of accounts. When do you want to do this? As of the beginning of your fiscal year, that would be your logical start date. So the beginning of the fiscal year, that way you'll have all the stuff in there for the current year. Makes it easier to prepare your tax returns at the end of the year. course, tax returns are a key benefit of QuickBooks. It really helps to make it streamline it for your tax preparation. My suggestion is your focus on this is you want to use this for management purposes. You want to be able to see, how's my company doing? Are we making money, losing money on a real-time basis? This isn't something you just sit down over Christmas break and put in all your data. This is something that you want to keep up, keep it fresh, at least monthly, be getting your stuff entered, doing your monthly bank reconciliations. I keep wandering into some of our later presentations, but QuickBooks does allow you to connect with your bank, and it does allow you to import stuff directly from the bank. There are pros and cons to that. The way I usually use QuickBooks is I print my checks right out of QuickBooks. So I'll go in, I'll say I'm going to pay this bill, I'll print my checks right out of QuickBooks. And so that hits my QuickBooks file immediately. If you import it from the bank, it's not going to hit your QuickBooks file until it clears the bank. Well, that may be 3 days, 5 days, 2 weeks later before it finally clears your bank. It also does not show if a check got lost. If I generated a check and the vendor didn't get it, it doesn't show up in QuickBooks. And so I won't know for quite a while, hey, this check hasn't cleared the bank yet. It's a great tool that they have, but there are some downsides to it. If I write a check right at the end of the year, that's a tax deduction in that year. Well, if it doesn't clear the bank until the next year, it's going to import into QuickBooks the next year. So there's some timing issues there. Unless you go in them and physically change the date in QuickBooks, it's going to show up in your next year rather than the current year when you actually paid the bill. Back to where I was. Sorry, I wandered off again. What day do you want to start your finances? You're going to select 1/1 of the year that you're implementing. And here are all your preset chart of accounts. So you see here, you have the option to go down. If I can get my mouse back here, we go. You can go down and click off and on which of these you think you're going to use. Well, I'm probably not going to have rental income, so I'm going to uncheck that. I am going to have blueprints and bonding, so I'm going to check each of those items here. As you go down, you can pick the ones that you want. This is not your only shot at the chart of accounts. You can go back at any time, add, delete, make inactive items on your chart of accounts. So if you say, you know what, I'm not going to need a bonding expense, I don't have bonding requirements, uncheck it. Well, then maybe a year from now, now I need to get bonded. I want that bond expense back. Well, you can go and add it later. Just because you don't pick it now or do pick it now doesn't mean you can't change that option later down the road. So you'll just peel down through this, looking at each item. Do you think you're going to have it? Do you think you're not going to have it? If you're sure you're not going to, uncheck it. There's no harm in having it there, but you also don't want to needlessly clutter your chart of accounts. So that rental income there, I'm not going to have it. I'm going to uncheck that so I can keep it as concise as possible. So we've set up our basic file here. We're ready to go into QuickBooks a bit and start peeking around at some of the other things. You've completed the easy interview process. Hopefully you find it easy when you go through it, and you're ready to move on to the next items. QuickBooks obviously requires a bank account. You require a bank account too. You've got to have a bank account. So you're going to add a bank account from this screen. You can set up the people you do business with. You can set up your customers, vendors here. So you can either go from here and click the add on these, or you can just hit start working and add them as you go. If you don't have a preset list of here are the vendors that I know I'm going to work with, or here are the customers that I know I'm going to have, then you may want to just skip that part. Obviously, you know you're going to have a bank account, so you can at least select add, set up your bank account from this screen. That gets your basic setup there. When you're set up, you're going to see a ribbon across the top, and one of the options is the file menu. The file menu is where you can open or restore a company. Once you're done, you've got things set up, you close QuickBooks. Well, now when you go to open QuickBooks, you can go a couple of ways to open it. You can either click on the QuickBooks icon on your desktop, at which point it will just bring you to where you had been. It'll bring you to the login for the file. or you can actually go to the file that you created and double click on that and open it that way. Either way, you get into QuickBooks, but you can select open or restore. You can select backup your company file, send a company file, and like I said earlier, I'd recommend creating a dummy company. So when you need to open or restore the company, it'll take you to the main login. You'll put in your username and your password, things that were set up earlier in this presentation, in the setup process. Back up your company file. I can't stress enough the importance of backing up. If you've ever had a computer class, you've probably heard about the grandfather, father, son version. The son is what's going to be your live data. It's going to be on your QuickBooks, wherever you save your QuickBooks file. The father, you're going to want to make backups every now and then. You know, at least every month, create a backup of your file, so that if something happens to the son copy, the live stuff, I don't have to go back very far to get another copy of the QuickBooks file so that I can start over again. Heaven forbid something happens, but it does. All right, let's admit things happen to our computer files. I have a terrible track record with computers. I tell my IT companies because of my magnetic personality that messes up my computers. They say it's because I don't know what I'm doing, but either way, occasionally something happens. We need to restore our backup. Well, if I don't have a backup, I'm starting from day one over again. You don't want to do that. But it's good to have that backup. But what happens if something happens to the computer, something happens to your house and your computer's destroyed? You want that grandfather version, which is kept somewhere else. So on a flash drive, at the office, some other place, in a safe deposit box, in a safe, some other place where if my computer is completely rendered inoperable, well, there went my son and my father version. I want that grandfather version out there somewhere. It's at the safe deposit box at the bank. Maybe I only update it every quarter, maybe once a year, but at least I've got something where I can go back and I don't have to start over with day one to create them. You want to be sure you're making those backups. If you work with an outside accountant, maybe for tax prep or for bookkeeping assistance, you can create a company or an accountant's file and send it to them. You're going to have a dividing date with that. So let's see, today's November 3rd. So you're going to have them work on your October books. You send them an accountant's copy with a cutoff date of November 1st. They can't do anything to your file November 1st on. You, though, can't do anything to your file November 1st or previous. So you need to keep that in mind and make sure that you're ready to say, I don't want access to my October records anymore, accountant. You go work on my October records. I'll keep working on my November records. They can then make changes. They can make journal entries. They can adjust your numbers, record your depreciation, whatever it is you have them do. They can make all those changes, and then they can import it back into your file. So that saves a lot of time. It saves them from having to give you journal entries to go in and make, or give you a list of changes to go in and make. If you send them this accountant's file, they can be working at the same time you're working, and then you can bring in their changes. We have several clients where we'll do that. We'll go get their accountant's copy, and then we'll pick it up, we'll make the changes, and we'll re-import it. This also can work as your grandfather copy, because this is off-site. This is somewhere else. They've got a copy of your file. If something were to happen to your file, they've got a copy of it to be brought back in should something happen to your QuickBooks file. The dummy company is a great opportunity for you to go in and play around. I'd recommend you do that between now and the next time we get together, so that you can kind of get a feel for things. How do things work? What are the reports here? It's just a great opportunity to get to know QuickBooks without worrying about messing up your live data. So when you're in there, under that file option, you're going to see preferences. And this is the screen you'll go to see your preferences. You'll be able to see what all your options are, what you can and can't do. It really gives you some great tailoring options. If you said this 100 times already, you're going to have different options than I'm going to have. But this shows you've got all kinds of options over here on the left related to accounting, related to inputting bills, the calendar, all these different options over here on the left-hand side of your screen. reports and graphs. Maybe you want the report titles in all capital letters. I don't want them in all capital letters. We can set them up differently. If you do sales tax, you've got the option here. This is where you set up your sales tax rates. Just a lot of different options here. These can be changed as you get into it. Oh, I didn't realize that that's how that was going to work. I don't like that option after all. You can come in here and you can change it. QuickBooks, you can see right here in the middle, when recording a transaction. So if you've got speakers on, every time you record a transaction, you're going to hear this doo-doo, which indicates it is recorded. For me, it drives me insane to hear it. I turn it off. So there's all kinds of different things that you can set up here to make it work for you, make it a functional piece of equipment for you to have. On the accounting option, I like account numbers. You may not, but account numbers give you the ability to tailor where it shows up on the balance sheet and income statement, because they're going to list them in a numerical order. So if I want this account number higher than others, then I'm going to give it a different account number arrangement. So you can set up account numbers. This does not show, but you see here in the middle, class. You may want to use class tracking. If you do numerous different types of services or different types of contracts, you can set up different classes. You just have to be sure, if you set up the class tracking, you're then going to be required to enter a class for all of your billing, all of your payables. Everything you put in will require a class. If you do not put in a class, then it's just going to dump into an uncategorized, and you're not going to get that benefit. But if you do, then you'll be able to tailor it so that, okay, I want to see, I sell pipe, I sell rock, I sell other things. I want to see how the pipe sales are going. Well, as long as I've classified my pipe sales correctly, then I can go and I can run a report just by that class to see how it works. The school where my wife teaches, we unfortunately are in charge of the parent organization checkbook. So she's the treasurer for the parent organization. So we keep track of all the money that comes in from the volleyball games, all the money that comes in from the basketball, all the money that comes in from soccer. And at any point in time, they may want to see, how did basketball do this year? So we have different classes set up so that I can run a report that says, here's how the basketball finances went this year. Here's what came in from the state. Here's what came in from concessions. So it's a great tool if you have multiple classes. If you're just, you know what, I do concrete, that's all I do, I don't need classes. That may be the case. So utilize it as is best for you. When you're entering your bills, when do they normally do? They do 10 days after receipt, 30 days after receipt. Your typical payment cycle is 30 days. You set that option here, and then it lets you know these bills are due, these bills are past due. I really like this next option here, the warn about duplicate bill numbers. You don't want to put in a bill twice. I know when my daughter's been entering bills for me, there have been times when she's put in a duplicate bill number. Say, hey, Dad, this bill number says it's a duplicate. Okay, let's look back. Oh, you're right. We got 2 copies of that bill from the vendor. So you want to be sure. I really like that option because it avoids you putting in the same bill twice. On the checking, do you want to print the account name on the voucher? All these different options. Do you want to start with the payee field? So when you're in QuickBooks and you go to pay a bill, it's going to write a check. It's going to give you what looks like a check right there on the screen. It's going to have the place to put the check number, place to put the date, the payee, the amount, all those different fields, just as though you were sitting down handwriting a check. So you can start then with the payee field. It's going to default to the next check number, and it's going to default to the current date. So let's just go with the payee field. Let's put that number, let's start with that field to put in the rest of the things. Again, I like the warning about duplicate checks. Autofill payee account number. So when you put in the payee, it can autofill some stuff for you so that you don't have to enter it every time. It kind of helps to streamline things in the process as you enter things. Inventory, if you utilize inventory, there's a whole set of items here on setting up inventory, warning about duplicate numbers. If you have inventory, and I've got a bid out there what you have the option here to reserve that. So quantity reserve for pending bills. I may need some of this, so it reserves it so that when you look at your inventory list, you see some of it is reserved, so that you know, do I need to be getting more ordered? Do I have more out there than what I think I have? It's a good option to help keep track of your inventory. If you utilize the jobs and estimates, how do you want them classified? Pending, awarded, in progress, or closed, so that you can keep track of your estimates. Oh, hey, this one's now been awarded, so you move it from an estimate to awarded. Now I've started working on it, so I'm moving it from awarded to I'm actually working on it and it's in progress. So that's a good way to keep track of your invoices. Payments. This has the option here. It says automatically apply payments. I would strongly recommend against that. I had a client that their bookkeeper was doing that, and we spent, wow, it took 6 to 8 weeks of heavy work to go back and fix this because their bookkeeper was just automatically applying payments. So if you paid invoice 100 but didn't pay invoice 99, well, let me back up. If your customer paid invoice 100 but hadn't paid invoice 99, if you automatically apply payments, it's going to apply it to 99 because that one's older, but they haven't paid it. So I don't like that option. I want to go in and select. They sent me a check. It's paying invoice 100, 105, and 107. So then I can see, hey, customer, you missed invoices 102, 3, and 4. That's also a benefit of sending statements, because if you send statements that may, oh, wait, we missed invoices 102, 3, and 4. Didn't realize that. So I don't like the automatically apply payments. It lets you do it. I would encourage you not to do that. Go in and physically select which invoices they're paying when you get the checks. Help keep track of things. Some other things here on sales and customers. You can set up your usual ship. You'll notice if you look here at the top of this, you have my preferences and company preferences. So you have a couple of tabs that you can look at on each of these as to how to set them up. How do you do your shipping is another option on these preferences. And now we're at the home screen. If you remember the initial layout at the beginning, I said you were going to look at the home screen, which also in your mind is probably triggering, hey, this guy's about done. That's good. Get some time back in my day. But here's the home screen. You can launch all of these. So from this home screen, everywhere you see these buttons, you can launch it from there. Okay, I need to receive inventory. You click on that, you go from there. Okay, I need to enter bills. You click on that, you go to the bill entering screen. Up at the top, you'll also have a ribbon that lets you go and do all of these things, but these are shortcuts to the different places that you may need to go for your vendors, for your customers, and for your employees. Down here, you see the enter time. We didn't get into employees, but if you have employees, there'll be a lot more options along here as you go. So these are some hot links or some direct launches to get into those things if you want to use them. If not, there's a ribbon across the top that will let you get to them as well. So hopefully you don't have a lot of questions. I've just dumped a bunch of stuff on you. I've talked fast. Unfortunately, I tend to do that. You can see here on your screen, though, if you're in districts 1, 2, and 3, Ringgold Financial is your source for help. If you're in districts 4, 5, and 6, Synergetic Solutions, and districts 7 through 9 is me. I'll leave this up here for a second in case you want to jot these things down to see who your supporting services consultant is. I want to once again remind you, our services are free. So you do not need to hesitate. Give us a call. We can do a meeting online like this. I say your consultant can do a line. I'm to be working with those that are in 7 through 9, Synergetic Solutions. Melissa will 4 through 6. Michelle, they're on districts 1, 2, and 3. So contact your consultant. Say, hey, I sat in Mark's class. I think I've got it set up. Can you take a look at it for me? Be glad to take a look at it. You can do it online through this. Can come out and meet at an IDOT resource center, can come to your place if you've got it on a desktop. Rather than packaging up the desktop and going in to the resource center, we can come to your place as well to try to help with your needs. I'm not seeing anything else in the chat here. but you do have my contact information for the one that had asked earlier. Send me an email. I'll see what I can find out about the possible Mac version where you can possibly get a download on that. But that's what I had for today. We got through it in about an hour. And hopefully that gets you going. I hope to see you back then on November 29th. The next version will dig deeper into QuickBooks, getting more into the different pieces that are available. Incredible resource. It really is. It's a very powerful, but it's a very easy to use software program. So hopefully it will let you utilize it to the best of your ability so you can know how to manage your business. So that's all I've got for today. I will, you saw my email. If you want to shoot me an email with any other follow-up questions. I will. There we go. That gets back to my email as well as the other email addresses. Thank you for participating. We had a good crew show up today, and look forward to.
Yeah, one of them is covered up with your screen. I can't see the information.
Does that move it towards help or?
The first one says District 1 through 3.
Is it? Can you see it now?
No, you're covering it up.
Okay.
Also, I have a question when you get done.
Got it. I got it.
I have a question too. I want to be able to print out those sheets too from the first beginning where you talked about the different definitions. Is there any way that we print those out? I can print them out on my computer, but I'm just saying, is there any way you could send it to my email and then that way I can be able to print them out?
Yes. So if you want this presentation, I'm going to ask you to email me on that as well. And then I will email you the presentation and I'll get you the whole thing.
And your email is what is it? Mark at Franklin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The Mark at Franklin Von CPA. And the one with have I still got the districts 1, 2, and 3 covered up?
Well, I see it.
Okay.
Mark, I have a question. I'm sorry, Mark, I have a question when you get done, please.
Go right ahead.
Excuse me?
Go right ahead.
I've been in on this, but I haven't been able to see anything. I'm only hearing it. It would never come through on my desktop or my phone. I don't understand that.
Shoot me an email.
I was hearing most of it, and I'd been trying to get in since about before 10 o'clock, and it finally let me in, but it would never show me anything. I was just able to hear everything.
So let me give you my email since you probably can't see it. Take mine down, shoot me an email, and I will email you the presentation to look back through.
Sure.
My email is Mark, M-A-R-K, and there's no capitalization in any of this, at franklinvaughncpa.com. That's FRANKLIN, V as in Victor.
Hold on 1 minute, Mark. After Franklin, what did you say?
Franklin Vaughn. I'll start again. I
know Franklin Vaughn. I know that. I know how to spell that. Franklin Vaughn, V-A-U-G-H-N. I thought you said something before Vaughn.
It's Mark at franklinvaughncpa.com.
Okay, I got it now.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Any other questions?
That's it.
All right.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Oh, I appreciate you guys showing up today. We'll look forward to seeing you here in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
No, but thank you, Mark. I'm sorry. Yes. When is the next? You said the next class is November the 29th?
Yes, ma'am. Let me verify, but that's what my mind says.
And we have to sign up for that, right?
Yes, please. Yes. November 29th from 10 to 12 or when I get done talking. I think.
Now, you guys, you said that you guys help with, because I started my business, but I have not actually launched my business yet. It's a staffing agency.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm a traveling nurse. I decided to open up my own. But my thing is I'm so confused about QuickBooks. I know everything about nursing, but I don't know nothing about business. So I've been working with SBDC and Wise, and also you guys, to try to get some type of support and help with
Okay.
the information that I need, because I don't want to end up launching the business until I know exactly everything that I need to know.
Sure.
So
are you currently certified through IDOT?
I just went on the I had signed up for another class, and I seen you guys. It was a class that came up, and I really didn't know anything about QuickBooks, so I just signed up for a class. I don't know about you guys' program, but I would like to know.
So we're the supporting services for IDOT certified firms.
Okay.
And our service is free to anybody that is certified by IDOT, but you need to go through the certification process first. Now, where are you located?
I'm in Syracuse, New York.
Oh,
Wow.
dang.
So any of us really, when you're outside.
Where are you guys at?
I'm down by St. Louis, Missouri. I'm in Illinois, but down the southern part of Illinois. So any of the consultants that I just showed you can help you with the certification side of things. If you go to the IDOT webpage, you can find out who can help with the certification. You're considered District 10 because you're outside of the state of Illinois. So any of these certification consultants can help you. Then once you're certified by IDOT as a DBE firm, then all of our, now these webinars are still, no matter whether you're certified or not, these webinars are available and free, but the actual one-on-one help is only for those that are certified by IDOT.
Oh, okay. So I just have to register with you guys, basically.
Right.
Okay. You said idotservices.com?
I think it's just, tell you what, let me get to the web page.
And see, my whole plan is to open up, which is the one here in New York, and also another one where I originally was living, in North Carolina. So, but I'm trying to blossom out everywhere, basically.
That's kind of what you got to do in today's world to keep going. Let's see. I'm gonna. They have obviously redone this webpage since I was here a couple weeks ago.
Mark, I'm still here. This is Larry. I'm sorry, Mark. I'm still here. This is Larry Dixon, Stand Up Construction. Okay. The application I think she needs is a disadvantaged business enterprise application, right?
That's right. And I'm trying to find the right spot on the website to get her.
I have one here before me. Is there any information I can give you off of this that may help her?
Oh, okay. I mean, that would be nice. I'm trying to get all the information that I need, because I'm like so new to all of this. So it's
Mark.
Yes.
Is there any information you need me to give her off of this application I have before me?
You need the whole application. I'm going to get her to that here in just a second.
Okay, I'm gonna click out there, Mark. You have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, I'm gonna also send you an email. I'm gonna put my name in there, so that way you'll know exactly it's me.
And then I can email you the okay, here we go. Now let me get to where okay, can you see this web page now?
Okay, yeah, I can see it.
So you go to the this I.DBE certification webpage, and then down at the bottom, these are all the hot links for the application.
Okay, DBE certification.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm just now, when you see anything by the name of Shira Bloom,
Mhm.
that's me coming through.
And then I can email these forms to you as well. But this, if you get to this web page, then you can look around at some of the other. It shows you the supportive services stuff and get you some contact information for additional help.
Oh, okay. That would be great. And I'll just put here and my name. I put my name for Shira.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Nope, that's pretty much about it. So hopefully I'll be able to attend your other QuickBooks so I can get a better idea on how to actually work this program.
I think once you dig into it, you'll find it's really intuitive and you'll probably catch on pretty quickly.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I
Sure thing.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Anybody else? All right. Well, we will finish this up for today and we'll look forward to seeing you later. Bye.